Good to have you with us here on France 24 again. Firstly, today we have Georgia's Secretary of State who will be testifying, Brad Raffensperger, and he'll testify about a phone call he had with the former U.S. President Donald Trump when he asked him to find 11,870 votes. That's one more than Joe Biden received. Does that sound legal to you?
No, it doesn't sound legal at all. Thank you for having me. The events in Georgia are often seen from a legal perspective as some of the most problematic for the president because it's all on tape and because what the tapes reveal is a high-level pressure campaign directed from the White House on Georgia officials to tamper and change the results of the election. So that in itself does violate several laws. We're now 17 months out, and I think the question more largely is, why hasn't anything yet been done about it? But we do have at the local level in Georgia, at the state level, the Fulton County elected district attorney conducting an investigation, and the Department of Justice seems to finally be showing some interest in moving forward on this, but they are not directly investigating this. That's why it's very important for the committee to bring to the public's attention the information that it has gathered on this. It may spur the Department of Justice to take further action.
Because from what I understand, the Select Committee cannot charge Donald Trump, but he can be charged by the Department of Justice if they decide to.
Yes, that's exactly right, and that's a very important point. What these congressional investigation is doing is setting the record straight for history and is conducting an investigation for its own purposes in enacting legislation to, from a legislative perspective, prevent this from happening again, and also to try to hold accountable legislatively those people that are responsible for having conducted these criminal acts. But it is not a criminal inquiry. They have no criminal authority of their own. For that, the country must rely on the Department of Justice, which has so far been very slow moving in this regard. But the congressional inquiry is seeming to spur the Department of Justice to embarrass it, if you will, so that it takes a more vigorous role in looking into these events.
And Eric, if the former U.S. president is charged and then found guilty, what could this mean? Could he be disqualified from running in 2024?
If there's a criminal case, yes, absolutely. He could even be put in jail. That's why it's an event of such
He doesn't have any
historic-
immunity as being former president?
No, he doesn't. He might argue that because we've never been in this situation before, and he has made very broad arguments before, but usually he loses when he makes these kinds of broad arguments regarding the sweep of presidential power. But there's no superficially, to say the least, there's no argument for immunity whatsoever. So he is very vulnerable in that regard.
And very briefly, Eric, the Select Committee will be hearing about this fake elector scheme. Very briefly, what is it?
Yes, that's part of the many tentacled scheme and conspiracy that was seemingly directed by the White House and the president himself to overturn the results of the presidential election. This was done in order to give Mike Pence, who was the vice president presiding over the certification on January 6th, when all the rioting took place, in order to give him another pretext to block the certification by saying, oh, look, there's more than one slate of electors here. There's another one. We have a problem, so let's hold everything up. The electors, you may know, are the people that actually are voted on to determine who the president is. So it's known ahead of time who the electors are. One slate will vote for, in 2020, said they will vote for Biden. The other slate said they would vote for Trump. So Biden, according to this institution called the Electoral College, had more of these electors. But what Trump did is say, and his Confederates apparently is say, look, let's just pretend that we won and we'll create our own slates of electors. So they, in many cases, forged certificates or presented certificates that didn't have legal authority, and they sent them to the necessary institutions in Washington to try to create this situation for Mike Pence.
Eric Lisann, I'm going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
My pleasure.